The three students shuffled nervously outside Professor Nixela's office. Krell's forearms fidgeted with his data tablet, while Vexna's skin shifted through shades of blue, betraying her excitement. Turpol stood perfectly still, only the rapid blinking of his three eyes showing any emotion. "Do you think it's true?" whispered Vexna. "Are we really getting assigned to study planet Earth?" Krell clicked his mandibles softly. "The professor wouldn't have called us here otherwise. But I don't understand why. Earth is a restricted zone. No one gets to study them directly." The door slid open with a soft hiss. Professor Nixela's tentacles waved them in, her skin glowing a professional shade of amber. Her office walls displayed three-dimensional star maps, with one small blue-green planet highlighted in the corner. "Please, sit," she said, gesturing to the hovering cushions. "You three have shown exceptional talent in xenoanthropology. That's why I've selected you for a special project." The professor floated to her desk and activated a hologram. A small blue and green planet appeared between them, spinning slowly to reveal continents and oceans. "This is Earth," she said. "A primitive world with a species that has achieved basic spaceflight but remains confined to their solar system." Turpol raised a slender hand. "Professor, why is Earth classified? Our textbooks barely mention it." The professor's skin darkened slightly. "An excellent question. Earth was marked for potential first contact 50 years ago. Then, without explanation, the Galactic Council changed its status to deferred contact indefinitely." Vexna leaned forward, her skin now bright purple with curiosity. "But why? Did they do something wrong?" "That," said Professor Nixela, "is part of what you'll be investigating. Your semester project is to analyze human culture using approved data packages and determine why the quarantine might exist." She handed each student a small crystal. "These contain all council-approved information on humans. It's limited, sanitized, and probably outdated." Krell accepted his crystal with all four hands. "If the data is so limited, how can we draw meaningful conclusions?" The professor's mouthparts curved in what passed for a smile. "That's the challenge. A true xenoanthropologist must piece together understanding from fragments." She brought up new images, strange bipedal creatures with varied skin tones and only 2 arms and 2 eyes. They looked alarmingly similar despite their differences. Humans appear simple, but something about them concerns the council enough to keep them isolated. Discovering what that is could bring you academic distinction. Vexna could barely contain herself, her skin flashing in patterns of excitement. "When do we start?" "Now," said the professor. "You have until the end of the semester. I expect weekly progress reports." After they left the office, the three gathered in the university garden. Turpol had already plugged the crystal into his tablet. "This is insulting," he said. "There's almost nothing here. Basic physiology, primitive technology assessments, and some outdated cultural notes." Vexna paced back and forth. "There must be more in the restricted archives." Krell looked alarmed. "You're not suggesting we break protocol?" "My cousin works in galactic security," Vexna said quietly. "He might help us access more data." "That's illegal," whispered Krell. Turpol looked thoughtful. "But if we only look, we have a much better project." "Think about it," urged Vexna. "Something about humans frightens the council. Don't you want to know why?" Krell's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. "Fine. But we only look. No direct observation. No contact. Just data." Vexna's skin turned a deep, satisfied gold. "Of course. What could possibly go wrong? They're just primitive humans." As they walked away, none of them noticed Professor Nixela watching from her window, her skin now a worried gray. Vexna met her cousin Zil at a quiet corner of the university food hall. His uniform badges marked him as a low-level data clerk in galactic security, but that was exactly what they needed. "You want access to what?" Zil's voice was a shocked whisper. His antennae stood straight up in alarm. "Just the Earth files," said Vexna, pushing a sweet drink toward him. "Nothing dangerous. Zill's 6 fingers tapped nervously on the table. Earth files are Level 9 restricted. Do you know what happens to people who access Level 9 without clearance? Vexna leaned closer. We only need a peek. No one will know. After much persuasion and the promise of Vexna doing his graduate thesis research, Zill finally agreed. He slipped her a tiny black chip. This will give you 12 hours of access. Use a secure terminal, and for All Stars' sake, don't download anything that can be traced. Back in their study room, Krell and Tirapol waited anxiously. Krell jumped when Vexna entered. Did you get it? Asked Tirapol. Vexna held up the chip with a triumphant glow of her skin. 12 hours of access to the restricted archives. Krell clicked his mandibles nervously. I still think this is a bad idea. You always think everything is a bad idea, said Vexna, plugging the chip into their secure terminal. That's why you're still using last year's brain stimulant. The screen lit up with the Galactic Security logo, then displayed a file directory. Tirapol's fingers flew over the keyboard, navigating through folders. Look for the original contact assessment, suggested Krell, despite his worries. That might tell us why they changed Earth's classification. Tirapol found the file, and they all huddled close to read it. First assessment team arrived in Earth year 1974, read Vexna. They observed for 3 years and recommended limited contact. Then something changed. Tirapol scrolled down. Here, a note from the second assessment team in Earth year 1979. After review of human historical records and military capabilities, we strongly recommend classification upgrade to deferred contact status indefinitely. But why? Asked Krell. What did they find? They searched deeper, but many files were locked behind additional security. Frustrated by the limited time and information, Vexna made a bold suggestion. We need current data. Let's send a drone to Earth. Krell nearly fell off his seat. A drone. That would break at least 7 galactic laws. We could use my personal scout drone, said Tirapol thoughtfully. If I modify its cloaking system, not even Earth's primitive detection systems would spot it. This is going too far, protested Krell. Don't you want to know? Asked Vexna. Something about humans scares the Council enough to quarantine their entire planet. Aren't you curious? Krell was curious. Too curious to keep arguing. 3 days later, they gathered in Tirapol's small apartment. The modified drone sat on the table, no bigger than Krell's hand. Tirapol had painted it black and added extra memory cores. I've programmed it to avoid detection and collect data from their information networks, explained Tirapol. It should be able to access something they call the Internet without being traced. When do we launch it? Asked Vexna. Tonight, said Tirapol. I've calculated the best trajectory to avoid satellite detection. That night, on the roof of the science building, they watched the tiny drone shoot into the night sky, quickly becoming invisible among the stars. How long until it reaches Earth? Asked Krell. About 3 days, said Tirapol. Then we'll start getting real data. As they walked back to their rooms, none of them spoke about the growing feeling that they had just crossed a line they couldn't uncross, and none of them noticed the small camera in the corner of the roof, silently recording their actions. 3 days passed slowly. The students tried to focus on their regular classes, but their minds kept drifting to the tiny drone speeding toward Earth. On the 4th morning, Tirapol's communication device buzzed during breakfast. It's connected, he said, eyes wide with excitement. The drone has reached Earth and tapped into their information network. They rushed to Tirapol's apartment, skipping their morning classes. Tirapol's screen glowed with incoming data packets. There's so much, said Tirapol, his fingers dancing across the controls. Their internet contains almost everything about their civilization. News, entertainment, history, science. Vexna bounced on her cushion. Show us something. Tirapol pulled up images of human cities, vehicles, and people going about their daily lives. The 3 aliens watched with growing fascination. They look so fragile, said Krell. No protective exoskeleton, no extra limbs, limited sensory organs. Yet they've built impressive structures, noted Tirapol, showing images of tall buildings and massive bridges. Vexna pointed at the screen. Look at their vehicles, so primitive, but they seem to work well enough. They spent hours exploring human culture through videos, music, and written content. They laughed at human comedies, though many jokes made no sense to them. They marveled at human art and were puzzled by human sports. They seemed to enjoy watching others chase balls, observed Krell. Very strange. I found something interesting, said Tirapol eventually. Academic papers by two humans named Jack Winters and Olivia Martinez. They're researchers of human history. He displayed images of a male and female human. Jack had light skin and facial hair, while Olivia had darker skin and long black hair. What's special about them? Asked Vexna. They've written controversial papers suggesting humans have survived multiple near-extinction events throughout their history, said Tirapol. Most human scientists dismiss their theories, but look at this data. The screen showed graphs and charts from the humans' research. They claim humans have faced at least 5 major events that should have wiped them out, explained Tirapol. Climate shifts, disease outbreaks, even asteroid impacts. Yet each time, humans survived and eventually thrived. Krell clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Most species would have gone extinct after just one such event. The Braxians disappeared after a minor climate shift, and they were far more advanced than early humans. Humans must just be lucky, said Vexna. No species is that lucky, said Tirapol. According to Jack and Olivia's research, humans actually emerged stronger after each disaster. They call it crisis adaptation. That sounds like superstition, said Vexna. No species adapts that quickly. Let's keep digging, suggested Krell. Maybe there's more to these humans than we thought. Tirapol nodded. I've programmed the drone to access their military and scientific databases next. Those have stronger security, but nothing our technology can't handle. We should be careful, warned Krell. If we're caught accessing their military systems, we won't be caught, assured Vexna. Their technology is too primitive to detect our drone. As they were talking, Tirapol's screen suddenly displayed a message from the university. All 3 of them had been marked absent from classes that day. Professor Nixella wants to see us tomorrow morning, said Krell nervously. Do you think she suspects something? How could she? Said Vexna. We've been careful. We should prepare our weekly report for her anyway, said Tirapol. Using only the approved data, of course. They agreed, but none of them made a move to leave. The stream of information from Earth was too fascinating. As night fell, they were still huddled around the screen, watching humans with growing interest and confusion. I still don't understand why the Council fears them, said Vexna, yawning. They seem harmless enough. We'll find out, said Tirapol, eyes fixed on the screen as it began downloading military files. We'll find out soon. Professor Nixella seemed to accept their weekly report without suspicion. She praised their analysis of human social structures, but reminded them to focus on the official data. Remember, she said as they left her office, sometimes what we don't see is as important as what we do. Her words made Krell nervous, but once they were back in Tirapol's apartment, their concerns faded. The drone had successfully accessed several military databases. I've organized the data by categories, said Tirapol. Military history, weapons development, combat tactics, and personal accounts from soldiers. Let's start with their history, suggested Krell. The screen filled with images that made them all go quiet. Battlefields covered with bodies, cities reduced to rubble, weapons that seemed designed only to cause maximum pain. This can't be right, whispered Vexna. According to these records, humans have been at war constantly throughout their history. Not constantly, corrected Tirapol, but frequently. They call their largest conflicts world wars. They've had 2 of them. 2 planet-wide wars. Krell's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. Most species never have even one. It usually leads to extinction. Turapol pulled up more files. It gets stranger. Look at this soldier named Sam Carter. The screen showed a human male in desert-colored clothing, holding a weapon. Files detail his actions during something called the Afghanistan conflict. According to this report, said Turpol, Sam Carter continued fighting after receiving injuries that should have been fatal. He carried 2 wounded companions to safety while bleeding severely. That's impossible, said Vexna. No species can function with that level of injury. Humans apparently can, said Turpol. And it's not just physical endurance. Their psychological resilience is equally unusual. He showed them more files, more soldiers, more stories of humans enduring conditions that would break most species. No wonder the Council is concerned, muttered Krell. These humans don't stop fighting, even when they should. Vexna's skin had paled to a light blue. But they're not just fighters. We've seen their art, their music, their scientific achievements. That's what makes them truly dangerous, said Turpol. They create beauty with one hand and destruction with the other. They build and destroy with equal passion. He pulled up a new file. This is from a Galactic Council assessment. The file showed a comparison between humans and other known species, in categories like technological innovation rate and adaptive response to threats. Humans ranked disturbingly high. Look at this note, said Krell, pointing. Humans display concerning ability to repurpose peaceful technology for warfare. Example, nuclear energy to nuclear weapons in less than 3 years. Vexna shook her head. But they're confined to their solar system. They can't possibly threaten the galaxy. Not yet, said Turpol grimly. But look at their rate of advancement. A graph showed human technological progress compared to other species. While most followed a steady, predictable curve, the human line shot upward at an increasingly steep angle. According to these projections, said Turpol, humans could develop reliable interstellar travel within 50 years. That's 10 times faster than any other species in history. We need to go deeper, said Vexna, her scientific curiosity overcoming her unease. There must be more to learn. Turpol nodded. I've directed the drone to access their top scientific facilities next. If we want to understand why humans are quarantined, we need to see what they're really capable of. As they ended their session, a message appeared on Turpol's personal device. It was from Professor Nixala. See me immediately. All 3 of you. The message was coded urgent. Do you think she knows? Asked Krell, his voice shaking. There's only one way to find out, said Vexna, trying to sound brave despite her now pale green skin. The 3 students hurried across campus to Professor Nixala's office, their minds racing with worry. To their surprise, she wasn't there to scold them. Instead, she looked concerned. There's been unusual activity on the security network, she said. Someone accessed restricted files about Earth. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? All 3 shook their heads too quickly. The professor's skin darkened with doubt, but she didn't press further. Be careful with your research, she warned. Some knowledge comes with risk. After leaving her office, they agreed to be more cautious, but they couldn't stop now. Their drone had accessed even more sensitive areas of human data networks. Back in Turpol's apartment, they found a treasure trove of scientific information waiting for them. Turpol pulled up the first set of files. These are from something called CDC and WHO, he said. They track human diseases and health. Why would we care about human illness? Asked Krell. Because of this, said Turpol, displaying a chart. Humans have survived diseases that should have wiped them out. The Black Death killed half their population in some areas, yet they recovered. Many species have survived plagues, said Vexna. Not like this, said Turpol. Look at their genetic information. The screen showed complex DNA patterns. Turpol pointed to specific sections. Humans don't just survive diseases, they adapt to them. Their DNA actually changes to resist future threats. Krell leaned closer. That's impossible. Genetic adaptation takes thousands of generations. Not for humans, said Turpol. And it's not just disease. Look at these radiation studies. He showed them research on humans who had survived something called Hiroshima. These humans were exposed to radiation that would kill most species instantly. Many died, yes, but some survived. Their children showed unexpected resistance to radiation damage. Vexna's skin turned a deep blue of scientific fascination. Are you saying humans adapt within a single generation? Sometimes, said Turpol, but there's more. I found classified Galactic Council experiments. The other two moved closer as Turpol lowered his voice. 50 years ago, the Council secretly captured human test subjects. That's forbidden, gasped Krell. Yes, but they did it anyway. They wanted to understand humans better. Turpol displayed the test results. They exposed humans to various hazards, radiation, toxins, extreme conditions. The results shocked them. The screen showed videos of humans recovering from injuries that would be fatal to the alien species, broken bones that healed completely, damaged organs that regrew, toxins processed and expelled. This can't be real, whispered Vexna. It is, said Turpol. And there's more. Look at their psychological tests. New videos showed humans enduring isolation, stress, and fear that would break most minds. The Council concluded that humans evolved in uniquely harsh conditions, explained Turpol. Their planet has extreme weather, natural disasters, dangerous predators, and constantly changing environments. Most intelligent species evolve in stable, safe conditions, said Krell thoughtfully. That's why we seek harmony and avoid conflict. Humans evolve through conflict, said Turpol. They don't just survive it, they thrive in it. The harder things get, the stronger they become. Vexna stood up suddenly. That's why they're quarantined. The Council isn't worried about human technology. They're worried about human biology and psychology. Exactly, said Turpol. Humans are the only known species that get stronger when faced with disaster. We need to report this, said Krell. This goes beyond our school project. Wait, said Turpol, his eyes widening as new data appeared. The drone just found something even more classified. It's about a direct encounter between our ships and humans. What? Gasped Vexna. We've actually met humans. Not officially, said Turpol. But according to this file, there was an incident near the gas planet they call Jupiter. As they read further, their skin paled to almost white. The file was marked with the highest security clearance. Even with their advanced access, parts of it were blocked. But what they could see was enough to freeze them in place. 52 years ago, Turpol read aloud, a research fleet was sent to the edge of Earth's solar system to study the gas giant Jupiter. They detected primitive human spacecraft approaching Mars. Images showed sleek galactic ships alongside bulky human vessels. The fleet commander made a decision to test human capabilities. Continued Turpol. He ordered a small scout ship to approach one of the human vessels. Vexna leaned closer. What happened? The humans reacted defensively. They attempted communication, but our translation systems were not yet programmed for human languages. The screen showed a recording from the scout ship. Strange symbols flashed as the humans tried to communicate. Then warning signals as human weapons systems activated. The fleet commander panicked, read Turpol. He ordered an electromagnetic pulse to disable the human ships. The recording showed energy waves hitting the human vessels. Most went dark, engines failing, but not all. The humans interpreted this as an attack, said Turpol, and they fought back. The next images made them all gasp. Human ships, some still partially disabled, launching primitive but effective weapons. A galactic ship exploding. Then another. That's impossible, whispered Krell. Their technology was centuries behind ours. The report says they used nuclear-tipped missiles and something called kinetic impactors Essentially large metal objects accelerated to high speeds. Vexna's skin had turned almost white. Simple but effective. "The fleet lost 3 ships," said Turpol, his voice shaking. "And the humans captured a 4th when its systems failed. They captured one of our ships." Krell could barely speak. "That's never happened before." Turpol nodded. "The Council sent a recovery team, but by the time they arrived, the humans had already moved the ship to a secure facility. The team decided retrieval was too risky." "What did the humans learn from the ship?" asked Vexna. "Unknown. But their technological advancement accelerated afterward. The Council believes they reverse-engineered some components." Krell clicked his mandibles nervously. "Did the humans trace the ships back to the Council?" "No. Official Earth records describe it as an unexplained encounter with non-terrestrial vessels. But their military leaders know the truth. They've been preparing for another encounter ever since." Turpol scrolled to the final section of the report. The fleet commander's final assessment. Despite technological inferiority, humans displayed combat tactics that can only be described as incomprehensibly reckless yet effective. They sacrificed ships to save others. Individual humans knowingly risked death to complete objectives. This behavior makes them unpredictable and dangerous. Recommendation: full quarantine. There was a quote from someone called Alan Hayes, the human who led the Jupiter defense. "We only fought back because you fired first. Next time, try saying hello." Silence filled the room as they absorbed this information. "The Council has been lying," said Vexna finally. "This wasn't about protecting humans from us. It was about protecting us from them." "It makes sense," said Krell. "A species that grows stronger through conflict, that can adapt to almost any threat, that will fight even when victory seems impossible. That's terrifying." "We need to tell someone," said Vexna. As if on cue, Turpol's door slid open. Professor Nixala stood there, flanked by 2 security officers in black uniforms. "I'm afraid that won't be possible," she said, her skin a dark, official purple. "You 3 are in serious trouble." The security officers moved forward to confiscate their data devices. "How did you know?" asked Turpol. "Your drone was detected entering Earth's atmosphere," said the professor. "Earth's detection technology is more advanced than you realized. The Council has been monitoring their communications. They know someone was looking." She gestured to the door. "The Council representatives want to speak with you. Now." As they were led away, Vexna whispered, "What happens now?" "Now," said the professor grimly, "you learn the real reason we keep Earth isolated." The Council chamber was larger than any room the 3 students had ever seen. Curved walls rose to a high ceiling painted with star maps. 7 Council members sat at an elevated table, looking down at them, with expressions ranging from anger to curiosity. Professor Nixala stood beside the students, her skin a neutral gray. She had said little during their journey to the Council headquarters. "You understand the seriousness of your actions?" asked the Central Council member, an elder whose age showed in his faded skin patterns. "Yes, honored one," said Krell, his 4 arms pressed tight against his body in respect. "You accessed restricted files," continued the Council member. "You sent an unauthorized drone to a quarantine planet. You viewed information that even most Council members aren't permitted to see." Vexna stepped forward, her skin brightening with courage. "With respect, why is this information restricted? Shouldn't everyone know the truth about humans?" Murmurs spread among the Council members. The Central member leaned forward. "What truth do you believe you've discovered?" Turpol answered, "That humans are uniquely adaptable, that they respond to threats by becoming stronger, that they fought our ships and won despite inferior technology, that the Council fears them." The chamber went silent. Then the Central member nodded slowly. "You've learned much, too much perhaps." He turned to Professor Nixala. "You were right about these 3. They are perceptive." The professor's skin flushed with pride briefly before returning to neutral gray. "What will happen to us?" asked Krell. A younger council member spoke. Originally, we planned to alter your memories of this project, but now we're reconsidering. The central member nodded. Professor Nixella has suggested an alternative approach. The professor stepped forward. These students have shown exceptional insight. Instead of punishing them, I propose we use their understanding. For what purpose? Asked another council member. I was part of the original contact assessment team, said the professor, surprising the students. I've always believed isolation was a mistake. Humans will reach the stars whether we want them to or not. We should prepare for that day. She gestured to the students. These three now understand humans better than most experts. They could help design better contact protocols. The council members spoke quietly among themselves. Finally, the central member addressed the students. What have you learned about humans that you believe is most important? The three looked at each other. Vexna spoke first. They're dangerous because they're unpredictable, but that same trait makes them innovative. Krell added, they create beautiful art and music while developing weapons. They fight fiercely, but also show compassion to enemies. Tirapol concluded, most importantly, they value communication. When our ships attacked, they still tried to talk first. The human commander, Alan Hayes, said it clearly. Next time, try saying hello. The central member was silent for a long moment. Professor, you've taught these students well. Too well, perhaps. He turned to the others. The situation has changed. Our recent monitoring shows humans are advancing faster than predicted. They've begun testing prototype faster than light engines. Gasps filled the chamber. FTL travel would mean humans could reach other star systems. We need new approaches, said the central member. Perhaps these students can provide fresh perspectives. He faced the three again. Instead of punishment, we offer you a choice. Join a new initiative to prepare for eventual human contact, or have your memories of this project removed. Before they could answer, a council aide rushed in and whispered to the central member. His skin paled dramatically. It seems, he said slowly, that your drone was not as undetectable as you thought. Human security systems identified it as non-terrestrial. Their global media is reporting an alien probe in their atmosphere. He looked grimly at the students. The secret is out. Humans now have proof they are not alone. The chamber erupted in voices as council members argued about how to respond. In the chaos, Professor Nixala whispered to her students, "This changes everything." 6 months had passed since the council hearing. The three students now worked in a new facility dedicated to human studies. Their punishment had become their career. Look at this, called Vexna, pointing to her screen. Earth's news networks are still debating about our drone. Images showed human reporters discussing blurry footage of the small drone. Some humans claimed it was proof of alien life. Others said it was just a weather balloon or secret military technology. They're remarkably skeptical, noted Krell, even with evidence right in front of them. That's part of their strength, said Tirapol. They question everything, even their own beliefs. Professor Nixala entered the room. She now headed the new Human Contact Initiative, with the three former students as her main researchers. The council is meeting today to discuss the latest development, she said. They want your analysis. She activated the main screen, showing a large cylindrical spacecraft under construction in Earth orbit. This is the human vessel Handshake, explained the professor. Their first true interstellar ship. It's nearly complete. Krell studied the ship's design, impressive for their first attempt. How did they advance so quickly? After detecting our drone, their governments increased space funding dramatically, said the professor. Plus, we believe they incorporated technology from the ship they captured 50 years ago. Do we know their planned destination? Asked Tirapol. The professor nodded. According to intercepted communications, they're heading for the star they call Proxima Centauri. They've detected potentially habitable planets there. That's neutral territory, said Vexna. No Galactic Council presence. Precisely why they chose it, said the professor. They're being cautious. "So what's our recommendation to the council?" asked Krell. Professor Nixala looked at each of them. "That's why I'm here. After studying humans more deeply than anyone, what do you advise?" The three former students exchanged glances. 6 months of intensive research had given them unique insight into humanity. "We should meet them there," said Vexna finally. "Not hide or run away. Show ourselves openly and peacefully." "I agree," said Krell, surprising himself. "Humans respond well to direct honesty. They respect those who face them openly." "And we should admit our previous mistake," added Terrapole. "Acknowledge the Jupiter incident and apologize for it." The professor's skin glowed with approval. "I'll present your recommendations to the council today. But there's something else you should see first." She adjusted the screen to show a new transmission from Earth. The human ship now displayed large symbols on its hull, not in human language, but in the standard galactic script. "They've painted a message on their ship," said the professor. "In our language." The students leaned forward in shock. The message was simple. "We know you're out there. We're ready to meet when you are." "How do they know our language?" gasped Krell. "They must have decoded it from the captured ship's computers," said Terpole. "They're more resourceful than we thought." "They're not just reaching for the stars," said the professor. "They're reaching for us specifically. They want first contact." The screen changed to show the human captain, Nicole Benson, addressing Earth's people. She spoke confidently about humanity's first steps into the wider galaxy. "We go not just for ourselves, but as representatives of all humanity," she said. "We seek friendship, knowledge, and peaceful cooperation with whoever we might meet among the stars." "She sounds sincere," said Vexna softly. "I believe she is," said Professor Nixala. "The question is whether the council will trust humans enough to meet them halfway." Later that day, the three former students stood nervously before the full council again. But this time, they weren't there as rule breakers. They were there as experts. "Tell us," said the central council member, "what should we do about humans?" Terrapole stepped forward. "The species we feared might become our greatest allies, but only if we're brave enough to say hello first." The council chamber fell silent as the members considered this new perspective from three young students who had changed galactic history with a single unauthorized drone.